Well everyone, this is it. We've officially reached 1 whole year of game development on Goblin. As of right now, I'm at 1,336 hours of work done, and I think we're well on our way to having a solid game. I'll admit this month was a slow one since I took a well-deserved trip to San Francisco and that ate up a decent chunk of time, so this video will hopefully be pretty quick. I want to go over some of the recent changes, and once again take a peek at the old wishlist count and see where we're at. It seems after the last video where I mentioned wishlist progress, well, I guess it was 2 videos ago, a lot of people were interested and messaged me saying they were glad to get a feel for where the game is at. So for now we can maybe reveal that at the end of each video to try to be more transparent. But anyways, straight to business. If every month had a theme, this month's theme would have been suffering. I mean, art. I set out to draw pretty much everything in the first area of the game. My goal is to get a playable demo going, and that meant making all the starter NPCs and all their movement animations, all the interior building assets we could need, all the exterior building assets like, well, the buildings themselves, and all the stuff for the first dungeon. This probably took about 10 to 15 days to do total, even though when you look at it, it doesn't really seem like a huge pile of art. I think the player animations were the most deceiving. Doing idle, sit, and walk animations for all the NPCs in all 4 directions was a huge time consumer. Not to mention I also had to make the 4 motion portraits for every character. That also took up a decent chunk of time. Either way, I did end up enjoying it and tried my best to keep a goblin theme throughout it all. I decided I wanted the architecture to look at least somewhat modern while still holding a goblin-y tinge. The technology on this island will be in more of a slightly steampunk era, so I didn't want them all living in huts. I tried to give the buildings little tinges of goblin flair, like the pokey roofs and little random bones sticking out of the sides. Then for the interior assets, I tried to give them similar oddities to at least make them look a bit non-human. I think I did a decent job at it. We've got pokey beds, pokey cabinets, everything a goblin could need. Okay, on to the next new change. I realized as I was drawing this little tavern that it would look very weird if the goblins were always standing around. I decided they needed to have a little sitting animation so it wouldn't look awkward as they chill in random areas. This of course means adding 4 new animations, 1 for each direction, to each and every NPC and also each and every player outfit, but I think it's worth it. I made a quick little sitting animation and made it so when you walk up to a chair whoa, okay, let's dial that back a bit. Okay, there we go, a cute little plop. I can designate which direction the chair faces and it's all good to go. That way if you sit at a forward-facing bar, the character can be looking the correct way. Next up, I realized I never made a little pop-up system that can just display generic messages. Like if you walk up to a door and it's locked and it says, "Go look for a key, dummy." Just something that will appear, you click OK, and it goes away. I made a little quick HUD with text and a button and added it to the existing system of HUDs. Any script can ask the HUD manager to display a one-time message and tell it what it should say. This little pop-up will appear and you can click out of it. This is a very small addition, but something important that I didn't think about. I'm finding there are more and more of these teensy things as I go on, and it really adds up fast, but at least most of the time they're somewhat simple. I also realized as I was drawing these buildings that some of them are just way too tall. They cover up everything behind them and it becomes impossible to see the player if they, God forbid, venture into the cursed land beyond. This was an easy fix. I just did the old make buildings turn invisible when you walk behind them trick, work like a charm. I made a script that would check for collisions and when something collides, check if it's a player or an NPC. If it's either, it'll turn invisible, and when all the players and NPCs are gone from behind it, it will turn back to normal. This was really easy, but I think it's super important, especially since we plan on letting the player place these buildings themselves. Who knows what sort of valuable areas they'll cover up. Another thing, I reworked how our map works. A member of the Discord told me that the map seemed confusing to their, quote, nanometer brain, and I realized I see what they mean. About the map, not their brain. The original intention was to click on an area and get a zoomed in version of it on the right. That way you could see all the details over there. This is of course very silly since I already have a little zoom button on the map, so I just made it so when you zoom in enough, it starts to add more detail to the area. This is again a small change, but one of those things that I didn't notice because I was trying to be too cool and innovative. I didn't realize I was kinda obfuscating it a bit by doing something weird. This is the type of thing I'll learn more during playtesting, but for now it's good to have those little insights from people. So hey, feel free to hop on over into the old Discord or comment below if you ever see me doing something weird or dumb. I always have a initially deep, visceral, negative reaction in the depths of my subconscious to negative feedback, but higher thinking usually prevails and I'm very, very grateful for all of it. A game with just a bunch of yes men behind it will inevitably be a pile of hot garbage. But speaking of things not being hot garbage, we've had a pretty satisfying jump in wishlists since our last announcement 2 months ago. Once again, wishlists are usually seen as a primary indicator of a game's future success, and people generally say 10,000 wishlists is the bare minimum to have a successful launch. Of course, if none of these 10,000 people actually buy it when it comes out, it's pretty useless, but ideally you end up with 10,000 or more wishlists from people who genuinely want to buy it when it comes out. And you'll have a decent launch with Steam treating you favorably. But anyways, onto the stats. In the last video 2 months ago, we were at about 1,705 wishlists. We are now at 2,773 wishlists at the time that I record this audio. It may have gone up by the time I get around to actually recording the video clips. This is a pretty crazy increase, almost 1,000 in 2 months, and I find it to be really encouraging. It seemed that in the last video when I described the situation, we had a handful of kind viewers add themselves to the pile and kindly lend a hand to boost the number. I'm very appreciative of all of you and all the support you've shown. I'll admit I obsess over this number a bit too much and need to chill out, but I really do appreciate all the support we've received so far. I'm very excited for this demo to wrap up so I can start getting some of you to playtest. I'm hoping to have the first few zones wrapped up in the next 2 months or so feel free to hop in the Discord or subscribe here to get notified if you want to be a part of the whole playtesting process. It'll probably be rough at first, but I'm sure we'll be able to iron out the game over time. And hey, while you're subscribing and Discording, make sure to hit the little thumbs up button there to tell YouTube that you don't hate me. I also love me some comments. I read every single one and I'm always happy to hear from you all. And finally, don't forget to head on over to Steam and hit that wishlist button. But once again, I want to thank everyone for sticking around for a whole year. It's super exciting to have a crowd supporting the process, and I'm super excited to see where it goes. See you next time.